A few minutes ago, we heard three university presidents defend the more than $100 million in higher education bonds on the state ballot. We wanted to talk to the line as well about the three state general obligation bonds and whatever else out there that's being floated by counties and around the state. Dan, let me start with you. Let's start with state. I just mentioned the word state, New Mexico State. Bond C, worth a lot for the state folks down there. There's a lot of buildings, a lot of things that have to be upgraded. But they've got a controversy now with the outgoing president. Again, in quote, she hasn't quite left. She's not the president, but she's still there being paid.
President Emeritus, I think you might.
Right. Here's my question. Everyone likes to toss around the specter that these kinds of things will affect folks in the booth about making an informed decision. There's going to be this thing in the back of their mind saying, well, these guys don't know how to manage their money. Why should I give them more? Is it really that impactful?
I don't think so.
Like
I think if it was, then you'd find more discussion amongst legislative candidates about actual issues,
right.
Presidential candidates about actual issues. I mean, it's funny how we say, well, people aren't paying attention at that level, but miraculously, they're going to walk in and say, oh, yeah, there's this issue with the president in New Mexico State. I don't think it matters. I think what matters is there's one or two issues. Either you're going to raise my taxes or they're going to stay the same. I mean, granted, if you vote no on these things, there's the potential your taxes could go down. There's the potential. But I think, as long as you're not going out, we see in 2010, they tried to raise it. That was defeated. I think as long as they're doing the campaign that goes out there and says, look, nothing's going to change, we just get to do more buildings, I think like it has every other year, it'll pass.
Mm-hmm. Tom, they're not automatic the way they used to. Dan just referenced the last one.
I'm not quite. I think that was the attitude that resulted in the 2010 measure going down.
Mm-hmm.
There's some real perception issues with regards to higher education. The support that was there immediately following is no longer there. Based on our own surveys, we've seen in their key demographics drops of support by 8 to 4% amongst those 50 plus.
Really?
And so, those
is
are
that usually a reliable demographic, that 50 plus?
Well, yeah, the 50 to 64 is down 4%, and 65 plus as far as favorability towards higher education.
Yeah.
It's dropped. And then when you look at the different regions of the state, you have the largest drops of 17 and 11% in the north central and southwestern part of the state. So, there are some real perception issues over the span of the last 2 years that, there really a lot of stuff has to be done. So New Mexico State isn't doing anyone any favors.
Have you guys been able to suss out what's behind those numbers? What's the angst here? What's the cause of that draw?
Well, a lot of it, because the surveys are taken in February, so we obviously have about 8-9 months behind us and stuff, is based on legislative funding. How are they perceived at the legislature? But these are more favorable. UNM had their own numbers immediately following that were released, immediately following the last failure, and these numbers are actually better than those UNM numbers. So to see our declines based on what we've seen before, there's some real challenges. But they're doing grassroots campaigning, so they should be okay.
Depends on where these areas are. Like you were saying, Southwest, you start looking at some of these places, I know those folks in Silver City and Portales, when I was in the legislature, they get pretty upset when they look at this stuff and they see all this money for UNM, all this money for New Mexico State, and they say, what about Eastern and Western and Highlands?
New Mexico University has, the number one issue. So they stand to gain a lot as a result of this, and they have a new president too.
Sure, glad you got that in. That's an important point. Yeah. Interesting on this perception idea about how people vote. Who can disagree that higher education is a necessary thing here? It takes money, right? Is that not enough, though?
Well, especially that general obligation bond C. The Albuquerque Journal, which is certainly a conservative editorial page, came out in favor of it. But I don't know, color me skeptical, but I see these things and there's just a dissonance there. I'm thinking, we're going to get so much more money for the education, and you're not going to raise any taxes. Right. And it's almost sort of like in a larger scale, even to this day, the resistance for President Obama's health care plan. You're going to keep your health care plan, you're going to keep your doctor, costs are going to go down, you're going to have a bright white smile, you're going to be 2 inches taller. I think people just think it doesn't seem to add up, but there's a lot of support for Obligation C.
Was there another way that folks like State or UNM could have handled this? Is there another message these folks could be talking out there, to your mind?
I'm not sure. I mean, especially that everyone wants better education. We're 48th, 49th in the nation in that way, and if if you can say we can pass this general obligation bond and you're not going to pay any extra taxes, that seems like a silver bullet.
But we're not 48th, 49th in spending when it comes to
Oh,
higher
no, we're
education.
18th.
We're pretty good when it comes
Yeah.
to spending in higher education.
Sure,
as it is today.
And I want to go to Laura on that very point. Is there a line to these things where folks say enough is enough, you're going to have to figure this out on your own, be more efficient, make some cuts somewhere else? You see what I mean? It's maybe a different eye going on bonds here than in previous
Well,
cycles.
I mean, I think the fact that there won't be an increase in taxes makes a big difference, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to be an obligation
Sure.
that the state will incur. I mean, ultimately, we're still basically obligating the state to pay bonds for buildings, and I think a lot of this depends on who's using those buildings and how old are they. Some of the buildings we're talking about in New Mexico State and certainly at Western, really old infrastructure.
I'll tell you what they could do to help themselves though on this deal
Laura?
is they could start talking about using local contractors. And one of the problems with a lot of these folks is these big buildings wind up being built by folks out of Dallas and Phoenix and Denver, getting someone local and doing that, because that's been
That's
one of the
interesting.
ads.
I'll let you finish your point.
Thank you.
That's okay. That's all right. It was a good
No,
point.
I mean, I
I
personally have always supported education, but I also think that in the state we don't, we value the institution of education. We don't necessarily value the students coming out with the credential. We don't necessarily pay them more because they suddenly have a master's degree or because they have some specific kind of degree. We still expect them to take jobs. So I think in some ways we haven't exactly figured this out the way other states have. We have this huge infrastructure and we have a lot of expenses that go towards higher education, but we're not really keeping up with the market demand that other states are providing. So in some ways it gives me a little bit of heartburn because we are obligating long term. We're obligating the state to pay back some bonds, but we're not necessarily making sure that that money is an investment that results in higher pay for students coming out of school.
Sure.
I think that's something we need
That's
to
a good
talk
distinction.
about.
That's interesting. We're on the clock now with the week's other headlines. First up, Loveless Health Plan is suing ABQ Health Partners to stop the medical group from telling its patients they can still be seen if they pay out of pocket or switch insurance companies. ABQ Health Partners is no longer an in-network provider, that's that terms they use, for Loveless, and now both sides are accusing each other of smear tactics. Oh my gosh, this just went downhill, Rob, so quickly. It seemed like a normal corporate parting, but it's about health care.
Right.
And this is where it gets tricky.
Yeah, it's gotten really bloody too. I mean, both the ABQ people and the Loveless people are going at it hammer and tongs. There's a lawsuit involved in this thing. And yeah, it's not pretty.
But Laura, I think about 3,000 folks now are going to have as much time as they need to make a transition. And that's going to be a help for some people.
It is, but I think it still causes some concern for a lot of people. I mean, for the state, for example, Loveless is one of the providers of health insurance, and there's a lot of people who have ABQ Health Partner doctors that they now have to figure out what to do. I think it's causing a lot of stress.
And in a state like ours, Dan, we just don't have a lot of choice. That's the real heartburn here.
Well,
Can't just walk across the street and solve it.
Well, we have a lot of docs, and we need more. But I think this is going to. I think you're seeing ground zero for the battle between the docs that want to administer care and the insurance people that want to figure out a way to cut the costs so that they can keep this stuff, cost effective to people that are buying these insurance plans.
That's a good summation. I'm going to hold you there, Tom. That's a good point there. A Santa Fe man convicted of double murder in 2009 is going to get a new trial. The state Supreme Court ruled that a diary should not have been used as evidence. Tom, I'm going to start with you. This has that technicality ring to it, but technicalities are important in the law.
Yeah, and that's what attorneys live for. Is
That's right.
technicality. I mean, that's why the legal code is so thick, right?
That's right.
It's so many people I think are just frustrated with the legal system in general. And this could be one of those reasons why. I mean, it's a technicality, but can you refute a diary? That's the big question.
Got to go to our attorney here. What do you make of this?
I wouldn't say that all attorneys. You said all attorneys. Some attorneys, sure, they live for technicalities. But I think, this to me isn't exactly a technicality. To me, it's a pretty big and basic part of the hearsay rules. I mean, it is rules of evidence 101. I mean, any first-year law student, second-year law student should understand this. And I mean, this is one where, a diary, you just can't ask the person who's writing about it. People collect their reflections on all kinds of musings, things that they talk about, that they think about, that may or may not be true. And without having the ability to confront the person who authored that and ask them about what they were thinking and what they were doing, I mean, it's a real problem, and it's a precedent that you don't want to set for other types of
I love that.
criminal
Just
cases.
a lovely tutorial there. Right on the bell. I love that. Going to let that hold. We have more of this on the clock. Come over to NewMexicoInFocus.org. You can catch it all. We're out of time for this week. Thank you all for your opinions. Next week, we finish our look at the races we'll be watching on election night by examining the delicate balance of power in the New Mexico House of Representatives. And on election night, we're live on Channel 9.1 KNMD and streaming live on the web. That's NewMexicoInFocus.org, starting at 7 o'clock and taking you right through election night. I'm Gene Grant. We'll see you then in Focus.